Octopodes sounds like a Greek god who has 8 big ol' yabos. Ash and Zach are super smart. They went to college and learned a bunch of stuff. And Bo and Andrew didn't go to college because that's just the way life goes sometimes. What happens when you put them together and you try to make them learn? Grab your friends, let's listen together on Get Dumped on an Info Dump Podcast.
Hello and welcome to Get Dumped on an Info Dump Podcast. This is a podcast where famously 4 friends get together. We talk about stuff, we learn stuff, we riff and raff, we F and Jeff, good times were had.
We're doing what's a Jeff?
Who's F and Jeff?
That's what this podcast is.
Poor Jeff.
Effin' and Jeffin'.
Effin' and Jeffin'. That's from
Sorry,
another
Jeff.
podcast that Zach watches, and it's been stuck in my head.
Material from people?
I'm referencing it. Real heads of that podcast will know what that's about. I don't even know what the podcast is. I just know that Zach says it a lot. It's stuck in my head.
It's about killing a guy named Jeff. They're just committing crime.
Anyway, we're here with the regular cast of characters. We got Andrew.
Hey.
We got Bo.
Hey.
We got me. I'm Ash.
Hey.
Hi.
Oh.
We also have the guy who's going to be hosting it, the one that is really awesome and cool, and he has really, really pretty eyes.
Oh, thanks.
It's Zach.
Hi, it's me. I'm Zach, and I'm hosting the episode today, this week on Get Dumped On, an Info Dump podcast. So,
That was weird.
yeah, I know. I don't know. I thought that I would I was like, I'm going to do a pause for dramatic effect, but then I was like, how long should a pause for dramatic effect be? And then I
Not
realized
that.
it was way too long.
Not that.
And then I was like, okay, this is terrible. Anyway, do you know what month it is when we're recording this? And I think it'll be released the same month too, because we had a
November.
buffer. We're blasting through our buffer a little bit. It's not November. It's September, dog.
Do you remember?
Don't forget to wake me up.
Mm-hmm. You know what else it also is Squidtember.
What?
Squidtember.
It's Squidtember, which is the month when science communicators focus on talking about squids. And
Hell
since we
yeah.
Is
are
that a known thing?
in the science communicator
In the squid
community, the science communicator
You
community.
never heard of Squidtember?
Big squid heads. They know.
Yeah, the real squid heads know. And so all my
It's
feeds
crazy.
are blowing up with squids, and I was thinking
Or squifties, if you will.
Squifties. Yes, Squifties. I'm calling
Sharks
it.
only get a singular week, but squids get a whole month? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like squids, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I don't know if there is a month for sharks. Maybe it's just like Sharktober.
Is there a specified shark week, or is it just a week that they pick every year?
It's the week after the 4th of July.
Oh, well, there's your answer. It's July.
Let's talk about squids. I've got squid facts. I've got squid facts upon squid facts upon squid facts. And
Let's talk about
basically,
squids,
I wanna talk about octopus
baby. Let's talk about you and me.
Is there...
Let's talk about how they ink.
What is happening?
Ash is singing a song.
Is that a squid song? Is that real? Or you make it up?
Yeah, it's real. It's real because I made it.
Mm.
That's true. Wait, what's the difference between a squid and an octopus? Bo was asking, not me.
Squids and octopuses are both cephalopods, which are a type of mollusk. So they're related to animals like clams and oysters and
Delicious.
Snails. No,
Sometimes
not snails.
delicious.
Yes, snails. Wait, are snails mollusks?
In France, they're good.
Or
I don't
are they
know. I think that if
macropods?
anyone would know that question, it would be you.
Oh my god, I'm ruining my. Already I've stumped myself.
I mean, I can answer for you and just say yes. Now, if we're wrong,
Yes.
you can blame me.
Yeah.
Snails are mollusks,
Good job,
soft-bodied
Bo.
invertebrates,
That was smart.
which are great.
Yep, I already knew it. And
And so-
Andrew, thank you for asking the question for me.
You're welcome.
And so cephalopods, this is the group of mollusks that includes octopuses or octopodes, or what I recently learned, the Greek pronunciation octopodes, which I love. Then squids, cuttlefish, and the nautilus. Nautiluses are kind of weird and different. They're kind of a continuation of a very old form of cephalopod. And cephalopods are, as they are, one of the oldest forms of life on the planet, which is pretty neat.
Real quick, Octopodes sounds like a Greek god who has 8 big ol' yabos.
It's a System of a Down cover song to the toxicity.
I'm going with the yabos.
The octopodes of our city.
But it's not city, it's like CD, like, the sea, the ocean.
I had a lot of fun doing the sharks episode, so I'm kind of hijacking this format, and we're going to do some superlative squids. We're going to do squid superlatives. Before going on, I do give some basic facts about squids, so that everyone's on the same page about what a squid is.
They're definitely oh fuck! What'd you say?
You said You said bitch.
What was the thing? What was the thing you said?
Cephalopods.
They're cephalopods.
Cephalopods.
That's my fact for the episode.
So the thing that separates squids
they have
from
6 limbs.
what?
I don't know. I'm guessing.
So squids have 10 limbs.
Ugh.
10 limbs. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah. So squids have 8 limbs. This is divided into 8 arms and 2 tentacles. And so the arms are the limbs that are kind of going directly down from the body. They're shorter, they're more dexterous, and they have suckers all the way down. Whereas the tentacles are much longer, and they have suckers only on these little clubs at the end. And they use these to grab prey that's far away from them and then reel it in. Then what they do is they use a beak. They have a beak that they use to slice and dice the food, which is theorized or hypothesized, to be a modified version of the shell that the ancestors used to have. So, you see mollusks out there, snails, clams, and such. They all have shells. But a squid doesn't have a shell. The beak is made of the same material that that the shells are made out of. So the hypothesis is that the shell was internalized and is now the beak, which is pretty cool. Then they have a radulus, which is like a raspy tongue that they use to further process their food before eating it, which is fun. Kind of
interesting.
Gross.
That's kind of gross, and I like that.
And so what separates the squids in this fashion from the octopus is that the octopuses don't have the tentacles. They just have the 8 arms, hence the octo in octopus.
It's octipodes, sir?
Octopus, octopuses, octipodes, all correct. Not correct is octopi, because the pi pluralization is based in Latin, but octopus comes from Greek, so it's incorrect pluralization. The squids have a long body with an elongated mantle. So now picture, do you know what a squid looks like? You picture a squid in your mind?
I can picture a squid so good in my mind.
And picture an octopus in your mind. They've got that head. They've got that big head, and then the arms coming out of it. That is called the mantle, and that's the bit that all of their organs are inside. Squids have a long mantle. It's elongated, and then inside that, they actually have a small internal skeleton made out of chitin, which is the stuff that like a bug's exoskeleton is made out of.
That's usually on the outside.
And so it's a little structure inside their body, and it's called a gladius or a pen. I like gladius because gladius is like a Greek sword, which is kind of cool.
So you're saying octopodes have big old noggins, and squids have just a little long boy head.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is mostly because squids live in the open water most of the time. They really need that hydrodynamic profile, whereas octopuses, octopodes, tend to live coastal, like in coastal waters, along the bottom of the water on like the ocean floor. So they're more walking around on their arms type of situation. Is not as important for them to be hydrodynamic, but squids are zooming, so they gotta have that zoom-in style body plan.
So you're saying that octopodes are hamburger style and squids are hot dog style?
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. That's a really great analogy.
So what are faster?
Squids are faster.
He just said they gotta swim more.
Speaking of that, the way that they move,
doesn't mean you're good at it.
they suck water into their mantle and then expel it through a little siphon nozzle that they have to move around basically by exactly that. It's jet propulsion.
So cute.
And so
squids are that's fucking nuts.
They're jet propelled with this little nozzle that they have called a siphon, and they also can produce ink. You see squid ink pasta.
Oh, you guys made me ink.
This is usually a distraction so that they can escape predators, although we'll talk about
I do the same too.
Yeah. A couple of them use it for different ways as well.
But Bose is way more disgusting.
100%.
Same color though.
It's loads. Straight up
deeply ill.
It's loads.
But why are your loads black?
He's deeply ill.
Because I'm trying to distract while I leave. It's a defensive mechanism.
Is a There's a cephalopod called the vampire squid, which we're not going to be talking about this episode because it's not actually. He's not actually a squid. He's a little bit more closely related to the octopuses, even though he's kind of shaped like a squid, but more of kind of its own thing.
Squid adjacent.
Gotcha. Oh, but what's
Squid
really
adjacent.
cool about the vampire squid is that its ink is bioluminescent. And so
that's pretty cool.
That's pretty sick.
It has glowy bits in its ink, which
It goes to
pretty cool.
raves
But a
and
little bit
shit.
more.
Mine too.
So the interesting thing about cephalopod ink is that people have been using it as a writing ink since the time of the ancient Greeks. It's basically colored with just melanin. The real heads will remember we talked about melanin in the blue episode. Please listen. But cuttlefish ink, which is cuttlefishes are another type of cephalopod. They've got a different body style. They also have the 8 arms and the 2 legs, but the 2 tentacles. But they have really good ink, and so the Greeks used the ink to write with and to color things with, and so we in more modern times used it as a writing ink and also as photography toner in the 1800s, and that's why sepia. You've heard of like sepia toned photographs,
Yes.
like your fancy old west photos, or
Is
all
it
sepia
sepia
toned.
or sepia? I've always said sepia.
It could be. This is one of those words that I've always read and never actually pronounced out loud. The Google pronunciation thing says sepia, so I heard it correctly at one point. But sepia is the Greek word for cuttlefish. And most of the cuttlefish that they use for ink are the genus Sepia. Cuttlefish are all in the family, or not all of them, but many of them are in the family Sepiidae. And so sepia tone is called sepia tone because it was toned using cuttlefish ink.
That's
Which is
buck
pretty
wild.
cool. And while we're on etymology, a few more etymology fun facts. Calamari comes from the Italian word for squid, which is calamaro, or calamari when pluralized, which derives from the Latin calamarius, which is of the pen, again, because of the ink,
Weird.
which is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
And finally, for one last really fun general squid fact, is that their brain is shaped like a donut.
They got a
Because it
hole in
goes-
it.
You didn't start with
Because
that.
of the way that their mantle is. A donut-shaped brain fits through it, and the esophagus goes through the donut hole.
What the
And
hell?
so all of their food goes through their brain. Also, they have 3 hearts.
What the fuck? Why?
They're
just
all fucked
love
up
to
down there,
love.
man. Under the ocean is crazy.
Yeah, just like a Primaris Space Marine, 3 hearts.
Is that a
And a hole in their brain.
is that a reference to something?
Yes, to the universe of Warhammer 40,000.
Oh, like the
okay,
5
okay,
fans that love that game and that listen to us are dying right now. I'm plotting your reference.
Justin is
Yeah.
like he's swerving on the road right now. He's like,
He's inking himself so much. It's ridiculous.
But yeah, the squids
name is
basically
Justin.
have. Well, yeah, I mean, the firstborn Space Marines have 2 hearts, but when they cross the Rubicon
that wasn't
Primaris,
an
become
an
Primaris
invitation
Space Marines,
to
they were
continue.
given
You open the door,
a
bro.
heart. Okay, let's start. What do you want to start with for superlatives? I don't know why I'm asking you what you want to start with. I'm just going to start with the one that I have in my notes first,
You know-
and that's the biggest.
Last time you sent a very good photo of yourself from the superlative of your own high school, and it was great. And what was that? Was it most
Most hyperactive.
ADHD? Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Which one is most hyperactive?
And so I did actually do one for most hyperactive this episode.
Okay.
It's last in my notes, but I guess I can shuffle some
No,
things
you know what?
around.
You know what? No. Let's save it for last.
I want to start off strong with the biggest squid, which is also the biggest invertebrate to live on the planet because squids are pretty big. And I'm a little salty to say that this one's the biggest squid because they're the heaviest. They're the most massive, but they're not the longest. And this is
Giant squid.
Masonica. Nope. Actually, it is the colossal squid, which is
What
different from the giant squid, actually.
the hell?
Well, yeah, it's
It's-
colossal.
It's colossal. They are Masonicatuthus hamiltoni. They are super mysterious. They have not been studied very well because not many of them have been found. But what's known is that they live hella far down in the cold waters near Antarctica. Like most mysterious animals, they're mostly really known from their remains, with the first discovery being 2 tentacles found inside a sperm whale belly, which is a classic squid moment,
Weird.
being found inside a sperm whale belly.
Name a more iconic duo than
Yeah.
sperm whales and having squid tentacles in their tummies.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and when the scientists found him, they just like thought that the sperm whale really was into Italian food, and they thought it was spaghetti.
And then they were like, "Oh no, it's calamari."
Uh-huh.
Did you know the name from calamari? And the other guy was like, yeah, duh, we're squid people. We know this.
And so these were found in 1925. And then again, some partial remains were found in the 50s. And the first complete specimen was found in the 80s.
God damn.
And
Whoa. From the 20s to the 80s? That's holy shit.
Yeah, there not that many of them were found because they live really far down in the
Yeah, they
in
live
the water.
way down there.
How
Damn.
far
Uh-huh.
down?
He just said,
A very
I know. I want an exact number.
an exact number.
Yeah. Whatever number you
It's in
say,
the-
I will believe you too. So just
you have to.
1,000 meters or more.
wow.
How many feet is that?
That is
25.
1,000 would be 3,300 feet. So a little over 3,000 feet below the surface of the
Dang.
ocean.
Crazy.
So the only one who's seen him was James Cameron.
It's a thing called deep sea gigantism.
James Cameron's down there. He's like, why is there spaghetti down here? Wait, what? That's a squid.
And so this specimen that was found in the 80s had a mantle. So when you're measuring squid, this is something that's going to come up a lot, is that they measure the mantle length, because if you stretch it all out and measure the tentacles as well, the tentacles are very stretchy. And so you're not going to get consistent measurements if you measure the entire body, including the tentacles. And so
Okay,
usually,
it's like measuring a slinky.
yeah, it's like measuring a slinky. And so usually when scientists are measuring a squid, they measure just the mantle and they publish the mantle length. And then they'll say the full length, but you know that number is a little less accurate. And so this one that was found in the 80s had a mantle length of 2.42 meters, which is 7.9 feet, and a total length of 5.1 meters, which is 17 feet. This was later
Dang,
determined
that's
to
like
be
taller than Shaq.
Yeah, taller than Shaq. It was immature. It was determined to be immature. The first few specimens all were.
Yeah,
up
when
until-
they found it, they're like, oh my God, it's a squid. And it went, I'm a squid. And they're like, oh, it's not mature at all.
Eh.
Up until the next being found in 2003, which was about 18 feet in total with an 8.2 foot mantle, and it weighed 660 pounds.
Jesus.
Dang.
And
That's a huge squid.
So far by today, the biggest one that was found so far is a little over 1,000 pounds and is currently on display at a museum in New Zealand that I would very much like to visit.
What the fuck?
That is wild. Oh,
Yeah.
It's so cool how when
Mhm.
you have very limited environments, when natural selection is very fierce, you get just like big ass floppy creatures.
Mhm.
So by biggest squid, do you mean heaviest?
Yes, so this is
Okay.
the heaviest. So the general thought is that the ones that have been found are in some form of decomposition, and they've never been observed in the wild, but the kind of understanding by the scientific community is that ones that have been found have shrunk into some capacity or another, either from decompression or from decomposition. And especially when it comes to the tentacles. So the full length of them in life is going to be tough to figure out. But based on the specimens, they estimate that the mantle is probably maxing out around 10 meters long in life. Not the mantle, the entire body, which is like 35 feet-ish. And
That's a
the
big
mantle length, generally with these squids, the way that they work is the mantle is a third of the body, then the arm is another third, and then the tentacles extend out another third from that. So the general idea is that the typical adult size is probably like a 10-foot mantle, which is pretty fucking big.
The ocean is so
And
fucked
they-
up, man.
Get up to, I believe, around 2,000 pounds. And they're like the maximum size are probably around about a ton,
Jesus.
which is a lot of squid.
What do they eat?
It's not known. 1,100 pounds is the estimated maximum weight, is about 1,100 pounds.
Whew.
Yeah, which is a lot. So it's not really known exactly what they eat. Probably it's a lot of little tiny fishes and stuff like that they catch with their tentacles. I mean, so there have been more colossal squid sightings in recent years, which is sadly mostly due to like accidental sightings by fishing vessels, which means that there's a lot more sightings because there's a lot more fishing going on in the waters around Antarctica. And then there's like trawlers catching them in their nets, like deep sea trawlers. But they've not yet been observed in their natural habitat, so there's still a ton of mystery about them. There's stuff that we don't know. There could be massive ones that we've never seen.
Dude, that's also fucked up.
Yeah, last year there was observation of what they thought was an immature one, but it was unclear because there was a lot of marine snow in the way. And so it wasn't like a positive identification that it was a colossal squid. It could have been another cranch squid of the kind of a similar like related one because it wasn't like colossal squid sized. So now by tradition, through the dump or chump for this one, they catch dump or chump. The colossal squid catches their food with hooks.
I just asked you what they eat, and you said we don't know.
But we know what they use to catch them, and also we do know it's fishes and other squids.
Dang. True. They got hooks.
I'm gonna say false just because I have no reason why.
I'm gonna say maybe. So I'm not wrong.
Ooh, maybe. Very committal, Bo.
That's me, Mr. Committal.
Barnaby's about to jump over my microphone arm. Buddy, you got to stop it. All right, let me post a picture in the chat and I will show you.
Classic.
Bo, describe this for me.
Classic. Well, that looks like maybe hooks.
Those suckers got hooks.
Are those still suckers or are they just hookers?
Oh,
They're suckers with hooks. They hook and they suck. It
Same
sucks while it cuts.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Oh, dang. That's lethal.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Imagine getting slapped with one of those.
No.
No. So for those listening, it just looks like you've seen octopus and squid arms.
They're squid suckers, but they got
suckers.
little hooks on them, and they look very sharp.
Yeah, sharp hook toenail looking thing on the end of them.
Yeah, it'll snag you. Imagine get that rubbing up against your sweater.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've sufficiently talked about the largest squid. I think that let's move on to the squid that our panel of squid experts has decided, and a jury of the peers, the yearbook committee, has voted the smallest squid. And this is already kind of like, it's kind of funny because squids, like cephalopods, are so tiny when they're born. They're essentially like plankton. Like a large portion of the plankton that plankton-eating animals eat are like tiny little baby cephalopods, which is kind of wild. They're essentially zooplankton, which is pretty fun. But if you're talking adult squids, obviously we would be talking adult squids in this scenario. These are the pygmy squids of the family Idiosipaidae, who hover around about 3/4 of an inch long.
Oh my
just
God.
these little guys.
So tiny.
They're just little tiny guys, and they're really cute. A lot of them are pretty cute, actually. A lot of the smaller squid species. And I'll be real, some of the bigger squid species are pretty cool, too. Pretty cute as well. But
I think squids are cute. I like squid.
The pygmy squids are great, and they have a really interesting way of living life as tiny squids. So they have a gland on their skin that produces a gluey substance that they use to adhere to
Oh my God, they're
seagrasses.
so sticky.
They're really sticky. They're just sticky little squiddy guys. And they've got like some of them, like nowadays they have like preferred types of trash that they stick to as well, depending on the species and the individual. But it's usually seagrass or trash and stuff. And they wait for prey to come by and then they ambush them. And the stuff that they usually eat is like arthropods, like shrimps and crabs that are also small, sometimes like minnow-sized fish and stuff like that. And I think that that's pretty fun. Now for a chump or dump, their eating method is like a spider
Hooks.
in another way as well.
Like a spider, like they make a web?
Like they stick to a thing and wait for something to come by. But there's another way that they eat like a spider. Chump or dump.
How do spiders eat?
Well, okay, I guess that this doesn't have to be a chump or dump. I was just trying to make one for everyone. I couldn't think of a good one.
I know the answer because you told me.
Why?
Okay.
You guys have to stop doing that. That's cheating.
I feel
This is
like
every
It's
episode.
like a recurring theme, of this, and then the recurring theme of Andrew going, "You guys got to stop doing this."
Zach was on his computer, and he goes, "Oh my God, they eat like a spider does." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "They inject whatever into the prey, and it scrambles their insides, it liquefies them, and then they suck it out." And I was like, "A squid does that?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's crazy."
And you're like, stop talking. This is a chump or dump, isn't it?
Some things you just can't hold in. And that's
some
wild.
species of pygmy squid Yeah, they have a venom, and so all species of cephalopods have venom, which is fun. Only some of them are medically significant to humans. This isn't one of them, but they have little paralytic venom that they do, and they bite their prey, and it gets paralyzed, and then they inject it with digestive enzymes and digest it externally. Then once it's all digested and in a nice little nutrient slurry, they suck it all up.
They slurp it down.
They slurp it down and leave behind an empty crab or shrimp shell or whatever. Which
That's
is pretty
absolutely
cool.
wild.
Then there are other species, and sometimes when they're hunting non-arthropods, so like fish, vertebrate animals, they'll use their ink as a hunting blind. They'll just have the cloud of ink out there, and they'll hide behind it.
I love that.
And then when a fish comes by, they zoom in and they bite through the fish's spinal cord to paralyze it.
Fucking
Oh.
Jesus.
Which is
They're
pretty
like,
cool.
there's nobody here. This is just a dark place. Just some darkness. Ha ha.
And these are the little guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you say, Andrew?
Are these the little guys?
Yeah, these are the little guys.
That's somehow more scary. They're just a tiny little
You'll
sticky
never
guy
see 'em
gonna just
coming.
bite your spinal cord.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think they'll be able to bite your spinal cord.
Yeah, no.
You'll
I don't
probably
think they'd go
be okay.
after anything that's like much bigger than them.
Yeah.
They can try.
They
can
can
try.
try.
They can try, but they will die.
Well, we might talk about it later, but let's move on. Now, this is all I have for the pygmy squids because,
Oh, just that crazy information that you just told us? Wow.
well, there's varying amounts written on each of these squid species that I did. So let's move on to, now we're sufficiently scared of this tiny little squid, let's talk about the class bad boy. And like how many bad boys are, well, first I'll tell you who it is. It's the giant squid. We're going to talk about the giant squid now, in opposition to the colossal squid. Now, it's kind of fun because they have very similar names, but they're very different animals. And while the colossal squid is the largest squid by mass, the giant squid is the longest squid, so it's longer by a few feet. And they have completely different body shapes, too. The colossal squid's body shape is kind of fucked up, and I don't really think it's that cute. But the giant squid, you look at that and you're like, oh, that's a squid. That's a cool looking squid. I like that a lot. I call the giant squid the class bad boy just because it's got kind of a reputation, People are like, giant squid, that guy's gonna fuck my shit up because I am a Norwegian sailor and I've been telling people stories of the Kraken, a gigantic squid that's hunting down ships and sinking them and bringing us all down to Davy Jones's locker.
It's going to fight with a sperm whale and crash into our boat.
Yeah, fight with a sperm whale, and I'm going to attack the submarine in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and do all this other stuff. But like how many class bad boys are more reputation than action, or just lashing out because their home life is kind of scary and dark, the giant squid has this reputation that it probably doesn't need. I just think they're cute. I think they're neat. They're not Kraken-sized or hyper-aggressive, but they're still pretty fucking big, and they're reasonably good at defending themselves against predators. Because, half of the reason why the giant squid legend started, as them being big and scary, is because sperm whales often have sucker scars and beak scars from the giant squids that they were trying to eat. Because, sort of like how the colossal squid has those hooks in its suckers, the giant squid has teeth in its suckers. And they've got it's got like little spikes.
Now, wasn't the giant squid only recently seen or like captured or something like that?
Yes. When I was first getting really into cephalopods, so when I was in like middle school, the giant squid had never been observed on camera at all. And now it's kind of interesting. So the giant squid is fun because it's kind of like an ascended cryptid. You remember from the Bigfoot episode what cryptids are?
Yeah, like Bigfoot.
Yeah, animals that are purported to exist from some sort of folklore, but there's no actual like scientific evidence that they exist. And for the longest time, this was giant squids. Until the 1800s or so, when people really started finding remains of them. But even still, there was like nobody ever seeing a live one. And once we started needing pictures of everything, there's no pictures of live ones at all until 2002. And it was a pretty big deal. And so it was a live adult was caught on video in Japan on a beach. It had washed up on the beach and it made headlines. And I thought it was so cool. I was paying attention at the time to all the giant squid news. And the sad part about it, though, is that it was sick and dying, and it died shortly after, which is kind of lame, but also made history, man. This kind of spurred, big efforts to get pictures of like, oh, we've got pictures of them for realsies now. Let's try and get pictures of them in the wild in their natural habitat. And we managed to get some of those. But in reality, it was, I think, Japanese scientists who photographed it in the wild in its natural habitat in 2004. And the way they did that was that they had a really, really long line with a camera pointing at it and bait at the end of the line. And the giant squid came out of the marine snow and the obscuring of the water and just came in and grabbed the line. It was super cool and fast and aggressive. And then one of its arms got stuck, and it left one of its arms behind. And they DNA tested the arm, and it was like, this is for sure.
They ripped its arm off?
It ripped its own arm off by accident.
Oh, silly goose.
Okay, now
poor guy.
Can they grow them back?
Yeah, that was my question. Are they like lizards?
That's a great question. I actually don't know.
You are hosting, sir. You should know these things.
I'm sorry. Yes, they can. I don't know if giant squids in particular can, but squids and octopus, all cephalopods can regenerate tentacles and arms.
Oh yeah, he's probably fine.
So he was probably fine, which is pretty neat. And then since then, so these were just photos, but then in the years since then, 2 more times there have been videos recorded of wild giant squids in their natural habitat. And just 2 more times because the ocean is big and they're elusive, but they're also extremely cool. I have a lot of bias towards this giant squid in this episode because it's the only one of the squids that I have a tattoo of on my body. But what's fun about the giant squid photography is if you look at something like Bigfoot or UFOs, you don't really see an increase in the number of high quality photos of them as more people have cell phones on their person, right? But you do see that with giant squids. And so more people on boats and in harbors and stuff are encountering giant squids at the surface and taking pictures of them. And we have more pictures of giant squids than you can shake a stick at. Of course, there is kind of the sad part, which is that since they're at the surface, that usually means that they're sick or dying. So that kind of sucks. But we're getting the pictures of them if you want to look at a dying squid, which is sad. Now, I got a little bit ahead of myself with all of this because I never actually told you how big they are.
Well, you said they were bigger than the colossal squid.
They're
by
pretty
a few
giant.
Feet, so.
Yeah, they're longer by a few feet. The mantle is shorter and they're lighter in general, but they're still about 1,000 pounds, the females especially. The males are much smaller. This is kind of how squids work. The males are smaller. The maximum sized male has been 350 pounds. So mantle's around.
Sorry, from what the picture you sent, the colossal squid is half head, half legs, where the giant squid is like 20% head, the rest legs.
Yeah, pretty much. It's very leggy, and it probably helps them catch prey down in the abyssal seas. And this is kind of the same thing where measurements are hard to get for scientists because a lot of the specimens that they found have been torn up by whales. They've found like whale stomachs or they're decomposing and stuff like that. But they've been able to measure some of these ones that have been found up at the surface. And I mean, I say many, but it's still only like a dozen or so. But pretty cool. Now, chump or dump, dump or chump, chump or dump. The giant squid has a 3-foot long penis.
I'm rooting for this guy. Yes.
Yeah, he's a grower, not a shower.
I'm going to say no, because squids don't have a penis. They have some other weird thing that's not technically a penis.
With hooks. With hooks.
Nope, it's a dump. They have a 3-foot long penis and it's prehensile. So
does it have hooks?
It does not have hooks, but we're gonna do a little cephalopod sex interlude thing right here because cephalopods do weird sex. So
don't shame them.
Okay, by our mammalian standards, cephalopod
Still
sex
shaming.
is unconventional. How's that?
That's better, thank you.
Okay. Now this is directly related to the fact that it's kind of a little sad that pretty much all cephalopods live very short lives, and I thoroughly think that if octopuses could live longer, they would eventually take over the planet.
Octopodes?
Octopodes. But so most, pretty much all cephalopods are called what's called semiparous, which means that they reproduce once in their lives. And essentially they live long enough to reach sexual maturity, they reproduce, and then they die. And this means
Better
that
make it a good one.
the biggest octopus species only lives 3 to 5 years. The Humboldt squid that we'll talk about later lives 1 to 2 years. The longest lived pygmy squid lived 115 days.
Oh my goodness.
Wow, really?
So they're not very long-lived animals. And a big part of this is in how weird cephalopod reproduction is. Now, essentially, the male cephalopod has a modified arm, which is called a hectocotylus. And this,
Oh yeah, their penises are one of their arms. I knew that.
well, no, they have the hectocotylus, and then they also have a penis. The thing
dang.
is that in most cephalopods, the penis is very small and doesn't do anything, and is basically just serves to transport the spermatophore from the gonads where they're developed into a little cavity in the mantle that stores the spermatophore. And a spermatophore is basically like a sperm sac. It's like a little globby bag of dude.
A globby bag.
You're saying so many
globby-
words that are just terrible.
A globby bag of
Baby
Yeah.
goo.
splooge. Yeah. It's a load. It's a globby bag of
Nice.
globby
Now,
load.
are their gonads
it's-
also in their brain?
It's in the mantle. I mean, the brain is just part of the mantle. All of the organs are in the mantle, and the gonads are in the mantle just like all their other organs. So
So they got
The-
globby sacs and globby sacs.
Squid
Yeah, they got
splooge is
globby
called
sacks with it.
squooge.
it's
Oh god.
and so in the hectocotylus is specifically designed to deliver the spermatophore, the load sac to the female. And oftentimes it'll like wrap around it, and then they'll wrench that arm off and deliver it to the female, who then will sometimes store it in her own little cavity, or she'll immediately fertilize. Basically, they do external fertilization. And so the female will carry around the spermatophore until she's ready to lay her eggs. She'll lay the eggs, like an octopus will usually lay eggs in like a rock crevice, but squids that like live in the open ocean will kind of make like a gooey net around their
Yeah, they
arms
just, like,
that they'll
They just like splurt them out, don't they?
yeah,
So
that they'll
right
splurt
there?
out all of their eggs, but they're very dedicated to taking care of their eggs until they hatch. And basically, they'll just focus on taking care of their eggs and not eat anything. And once the eggs hatch, they'll die. And the males tend to just kind of wither away and die immediately after delivering the spermatophore
Sick.
and having their
Package delivered. I
having
did
their
my
package
duty.
delivered.
Ugh.
And then the eggs.
Dropping payloads.
Now I can die.
And then the female guards the eggs until they hatch, starving herself to death. And then once the eggs hatch, she passes away. And thousands and thousands and thousands of little tiny cephalopod babies are released into the
And
ocean.
then they get eaten by a whale.
And some of them will get eaten by a whale, but many of them will survive to adulthood. And they make so many eggs that only reproducing once and dying ends up being evolutionary advantageous just because of how many babies they make. Now, the interesting thing about this is I said that in most squid species, the penis is small and basically only serves to deliver the spermatophore from the gonads to the cavity.
The payload.
The payload, sorry.
Nice.
But it turns out that many deep sea squids actually have like a long penis that they use to like hold it out for the hectocotylus to grab.
Penis.
And you said it's prehensile, right? So they're just waving it.
Yeah, they just wave it around, which is kind of fun. But they also live a little bit longer than other squids. So they have statoliths, which are inside them, which are like a balancing, related to how they balance within the water, and they deposit layers on these statoliths more or less daily. And so you can look at these and determine how many days the squid has lived, and that's how they age some of them. And so
That is wild.
one of a paper that was published in a few years ago, I didn't cite it in my page. And so it was like 15 years ago, it said that one of the giant squid that they tested was 14 years old based on that method. But they kind of seem to hover around 7 to 10 years old, which because they've never been observed reproducing, they could, because they have the penis, they could actually reproduce more than once, but it's more likely that it just takes them a really long time to reach sexual maturity. So that's fun. Well, it's not really fun, but now you know how squids do sex.
Thank you.
And you probably didn't before.
I'm so glad that I know that now. Thanks, Zach.
All right, let's go to the best eyes. Who's got the best eyes in the squid family?
You do.
Oh,
Yeah, Ash said that at the very beginning of the episode.
Yeah. So I'm only comparing it to you.
There's a lot of contenders here for the best eyes because a lot of cephalopods have really advanced eyes for invertebrates. They have very advanced structures in their eyes. They've got much better vision than the average invertebrate. And squids are no different. And a lot of them have really, really big eyes. We've talked about this before on the podcast. I don't remember which episode, but probably the shark episode. But giant squids have eyes that are the size of a dinner plate. They're like 13 inches wide in diameter, which is largely because they're deep sea animals that have big bodies. So obviously they have big eyes. Colossal squid eyes are a little bit bigger, but they're around the same size. And then the vampire squid, not a squid, but we talked about earlier, has the largest eyes in proportion to body size of any animal in the animal kingdom, which is also pretty cool. And they live stupid deep, to the point where when they were first found, people were like, how does this animal live this deep? There's not enough oxygen in the water. And it turns out they're just really good at doing oxygen. It's fine. We'll talk about them in some other episode probably. But I got to give it to a squid called the strawberry squid for having the most bonkers eye situation I have ever seen. It's kind of goofy. A bit of a hint is that their other squids in their family are also called cockeyed squids. And this is what their eyes are like. They have...
one eye is regular, but the other eye is large and green.
Yeah. So
Very
they've
bulbous.
got one...
Yeah.
They've got one of their eyes is basically twice as big as the other one. Basically, they live in the mesopelagic zone, which is half a mile down from the surface of the ocean, and it's towards the end of the visible light range. There's a little bit of light getting down there, but not much. And they've adapted so that one of their eyes, the big fucking yellow eye, looks upwards, and it's specially designed to detect dim shadows that are cast by prey above them. And then the little blue eye looks downwards and sees the bioluminescence given off by fish and other animals below them. So it can detect shadows with one
crazy.
eye and bioluminescence with the other eye.
And they just swim with one eye up and one eye down the whole time?
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
And can you see why they're called the strawberry squid?
Yeah, they look like strawberries. They're pink and they got little black spots that look like seeds.
They look like little strawberries. Isn't that cute?
That's really cute.
They're kind of reddish like strawberries, and the little seed things on them are their photopores, which they use to make their own little bit of bioluminescence. And it's basically just enough to kind of break up their silhouette so that they can't be detected. The other thing...
Nice.
Yeah. And so chump or dump, they are almost invisible.
I'm going to say it's true.
I have seen like squids and octopides that can do that, so I'm going to go with true.
Well, I like to be different because I'm a pain in the ass. So I'm going to go not true.
It's true. So if there's a fun thing that, one thing that I love talking about, it's the different ways that wavelengths of light work. And red is blocked.
He's famous for that.
Red light does not penetrate very well into water at all. Red is basically the first color to disappear when you're going under the water.
Dang, don't ever wear a red swimsuit then.
Nuh-uh. They're really hard to see. And so this kind of coloring and the combined with the like confusing light coming from their photopores makes it so that they are effectively invisible, which is really cool. And also, they fold up like this when they're cruising around, and it makes them look even more like a strawberry.
Oh my god!
For those listening, it folds up into a little ball like roly-poly.
It goes
Well,
Sonic style when he
roly-poly.
spins.
Yeah.
When he's a little spin.
Yeah, it goes a little roly-poly style, but the mantle is still up, so it's pointy, so it looks like a little strawberry.
Yeah. Isn't that cute?
A Cthulhu strawberry.
A little Cthulhu strawberry. Their mantle is 3 inches long, by the way. So they are little.
Oh my god, they're so tiny!
Yeah. How great is that? I
That's
love them.
wonderful.
Yeah. Now moving on.
It's two different eyes are so fucking wild. That's crazy.
Right? Isn't that weird? I don't know if I've ever seen, because you see animals with weird eyes sometimes. Like a flounder is weird because the eye migrates so both of their eyes are on the same side of their head. But I don't know if I've ever seen an animal that has two eyes that are just completely different.
Yeah, that like
sizes.
work differently and are different sizes.
Apparently the yellow one, like the yellow lens, helps like filter out light in a certain way that makes it easier to detect shadows. I'm not entirely sure the science behind it, but it's weird, man. I love it. It's so cool.
Wild. Yeah, that's super cool.
Fucking buck wild ass little squid man. So next we're moving on to the Best Friends Award. And the Best Friends Award goes to the Hawaiian bobtail squid and the Vibrio fischeri bacteria.
Give it up for them. They deserve a round of applause, everyone.
Give it up for them.
Just a couple of besties.
They are little besties. The Hawaiian bobtail squid maybe takes the cake for cutest species of squid.
Oh my goodness gracious. The picture you just sent of that little squid is so cute.
They're about the size of a golf ball, so they're tiny. And they're adorable. And what makes them really interesting is that while a lot of squid bioluminesce, they do it themselves with photopores. And so their bioluminescence it's good, but it's not great. And what the Hawaiian bobtail squid does is it has a really, really good symbiotic relationship with the Vibrio fischeri bacteria. Which lives in little mucousy spots in their pores and provides bioluminescence for them, which gives them really good adaptive bioluminescence.
Oh, that is great.
It's like one of the most successful examples of this. So it's not common, but not unknown for animals to have these sorts of symbiotic relationships with bioluminescent bacteria, to kind of have their own sort of like luminous spots on their bodies. But the bobtail squid is the best at it. And what they do is they're nocturnal. They bury themselves in sand during the day. And then at night, they come out to hunt shrimpies in the coastal waters around Hawaii. And they use their bioluminescence as a sort of counter illumination. It projects downwards from their body to blend them in with the moonlight coming up from above. And they are able to adjust the output of the light based on how much ambient light there is from the moon.
Oh.
So that they're always kind of camouflaging themselves from below against the moonlight. Oh. And it's a little bit based on the like squid constricting its like little pores to adjust to the light, and a little bit also the bacteria kind of doing it on their own.
Wow.
And so the squid provides a place for the bacteria to live by feeding it a mixed, like a little, so it secretes some amino acids and sugars that the bacteria eat. And then the bacteria give the squid the bioluminescence that it uses to camouflage itself and hunt, which is really cool.
That is fantastic. You ever let your friend lick your sweet sweat and then it helps you bioluminesce after?
Wish Andrew would lick my sweet sweat.
Sorry, what's happening?
Help me out, Andrew. Help me out, please.
Your sweet mucus.
Very uncomfortable.
Well, what's interesting about this is that they don't come out of the egg being able to bioluminesce. And so like most of the bioluminescent squid, it develops later when they like reach adulthood anyway. But they aren't born with the bacteria. The bacteria just lives in the same water as them, like the same area that they do. And there's, water is just full of bacteria. And yet they're able to attract only this specific strain of this specific species of bacteria and it's always the same strain of the same bacteria that helps them, that bioluminesces for them.
That's cool.
The scientists have only just identified this like specific chemical compound that their body produces when they're juveniles, which attracts that bacteria. And they like kind of filter water into their pores and attract the more bacteria, and then the bacteria start reproducing within their body. Then every morning they vent out some of the bacteria during the day, and then by nighttime the levels have replenished to the point where it's like optimum brightness, and they start the whole thing over again.
Pretty fucking sick.
Yeah.
And its little spots look like confetti, and it looks like it's wearing green eyeshadow.
Yeah. And and they're really good at camouflage, and they burrow themselves in the sand during the day. And I guess you don't have to watch this right now, but I do want to get your reaction on camera. But there's a video that I found that has the
This is
squid
one of my favorite videos. I have seen this
burying
video
itself in
before,
the sand.
and I love it.
If you skip to like 20 seconds, it shows it using its little arms to throw sand over its head. And it's the cutest thing I've ever seen. I think.
It's so cute. I love it. So cute. Just covering himself up with sand. Jesse's using his little tentacles.
Yeah. So that's a pretty cute little guy.
I love him.
Now, chump or dump, true or false, chump or dump, the Hawaiian bobtail squid has been to space.
True. I feel like we talked about jellyfish in space, and I feel like scientists are mean enough to put a squid up there as well.
I also go with true. Time to go back with the norm.
Ash, do you have any ideas?
I said true.
Yeah, it's true.
Wow, you don't listen.
I think maybe that in 2021, the University of Hawaii and NASA cooperated to send 120 baby bobtail squid up into space to study how spaceflight affects the way that they acquire their bacteria, and turn that into information about how microbes interact with larger animals, so they can use that to learn more about how astronauts can live in space longer, based on how the microbes interact with human bodies and do stuff with their immune system.
Huh.
So that's cool. I don't think the results have been published yet, but there were squids in space. And I think that's neat. Space squids, yeah. There's
Squids
like
in space.
there's a fringe hypothesis that cephalopods initially came from space too. So
I've heard
from
that.
space and to space.
Octopodes are the real aliens, people. We just have to look in our own oceans.
Wake up, sheeple.
Yeah. All right, now we move on to the most hyperactive. This is the last squid that I have. I cut out a couple of them for time because I was writing too much. And maybe we'll do another one of these for the best dressed and class clown
squids.
and most camera shy are the ones that I ended up cutting out. But what we have is the most hyperactive squid. This goes to the yearbook committee has voted, and the winner of the track and field sprint is the Humboldt squid, which is the fastest squid, which is
Very
surprising.
high all the time.
Which is surprising because they are a relatively large squid. They're not giant squid sized, but the mantle's about 5 foot long and they weigh about 100 pounds.
Oh, dang.
And they gather in these massive, massive shoals in the Humboldt Current, which is where they get their name, the Humboldt Current, Humboldt squid.
Hey, big shout out to the Humboldt Current. We love you. You bring a lot of nutrients. You bring a lot of cool animals to the California coast. Throw it up.
Yeah, the Pacific coast. So they're they're heavily fished in Mexico, Peru, Chile, that sort of area. And so despite being pretty large, they swim about 15 miles per hour, which is pretty fast for being a very large squid. And because they're big and they're meaty and they gather in such large groups, they're commonly fished. They are the third most fished squid worldwide, and 95% of the squid fished in Mexico are Humboldt squid, which is fun.
So if you're eating calamari, it's probably a Humboldt squid?
It's likely a Humboldt squid. There are some near Italy that they call like the fishery squid or something like that, which are smaller. But longfin squid and market squid are the other ones, I think. But Humboldt squid is very commonly fished. If you're eating like ceviche calamari, it's probably a Humboldt squid, which is pretty cool. Now, they are known colloquially by Mexican fishermen as Diablo Rojo, which is fun.
Let me guess. They're red and they're mad.
So they have a reputation for being very aggressive when they're being fished, hence the Diablo. And they're normally white.
I get it.
But they'll flash with red waves when they're angry, hence the Rojo. They like have these like waves of red that go down their body when they're mad.
That's cool.
And you'll hear all of these stories about people being like, if you're fishing the squid, don't fall off of your boat because they'll tear you to shreds. But there's no like actual like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Evidence?
Yeah, there's no actual evidence that they've ever like caused a fatality. They just have this reputation because they're like,
they'll beak you.
they'll beak you.
They'll beak you.
And they've been known to non-fatally attack divers from time to time as well. But the idea, though, is that it's kind of like sharks in that they're not aggressive. They're just very curious, and they only have so many ways of interacting with things. They're really intelligent. They've got really big brains, and they know how to use them. But because they do this like weird red flashing thing, that's how they communicate with each other, is by flashing at each other. And so usually when divers are being attacked, they've got like lights and like other sort of things like that. And so the theory is that the lights are like confusing them, or they're like
you want to step to
some
me,
sort of
dude?
signal. Yeah.
You flashing at me, bro?
And that's what provokes them. And one time when I was younger, I saw a video where a Humboldt squid stole a diver's camera and inadvertently recorded the diver being attacked by its squad mates, but I couldn't find the video again, so maybe I imagined it, but that is kind of funny. And sometimes you'll see online people say that a group of squids is called a squad, but it's not. That's just what people made up because honestly,
Squid
it's great.
Squad.
Yeah, obviously.
I'm going to call it that forever.
Yeah,
officially a squid.
Squid Squad.
Officially, a group of squids is called a shoal, but that's lame.
Oh, I mean, it's cute, but
Dr.
a squad
Scholl's,
is
that's
way
why you put it
better.
in your soul.
Okay, and now for our last jumper dump of the episode, the Humboldt squid can fly.
False.
Well, they've all been true so far. So
One of them wasn't true.
Oh, it
No,
wasn't.
they've all been true.
I thought they've all been true.
Oh, wait.
They've all been true.
True.
False.
I'm just so
Maybe.
enthusiastic about these animals that I don't want to lie to you. They can fly. They are
What?
they're so fast and they have wide fins. They can catch air. So it's flying like in the way that like a flying squirrel is flying.
Or like a
It's
flying
not
fish.
true flight. Yeah, it's not true flight, but they can glide out of water for short distances. And they're actually the largest member of the flying squid family. There's a family of squids that are specially adapted
Oh
for
my God,
flying
that's
out of
amazing.
water. And they're in that family.
They're
the
falling with
largest member.
style.
Compared to the smallest member of that family, which is the 3.5-inch glass squid. There's also the Japanese flying squid, which is which is very famous for being able to fly quite a far distance or glide. But pretty cool.
Cool.
Pretty cool. So those are all my squid facts for the episode. Which was everyone's favorite squid?
I can't choose between the strawberry squid and the Hawaiian bobtail squid.
Penis arm squid.
I liked the giant squid before, and I like it still.
It's a good squid. I love the giant squid. It's like it's got that nice shape to it. It's like it looks like a squid. It's a big squid. It's got teeth in its suckers. You know, it'll fuck up a whale. Their beaks are so sharp that the whale has to excrete a weird waxy substance in its digestive tract to coat the beak with so that it doesn't cut up their guts. And people use it in perfume. I think we talked about that in the sperm whale
Ambergris?
episode. Ambergris.
Mhm.
Anyway, yeah, pretty good squids. The bobtail squid is so cute, though.
They're so cute. I like all of the things. I like all of it. Squids are really awesome. Ocean animals are crazy. Thank you for telling us so much about squids.
Thank you.
To hark back even to the high school theming of this episode, I was reading the stuff that people wrote in Zach's yearbook, and somebody wrote in one of his yearbooks. I think it was something to the akin of, "Thanks for teaching me so much about cephalopods."
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention, I even pulled up a picture of it. I saw a giant squid once in the Natural History Museum in London. It was preserved in formaldehyde behind the scenes. They had just gotten it. Its name was Archie because it's Architeuthis duke. They called it Archie. And it was preserved in formaldehyde or alcohol or something in this like behind the scenes area. And we were going to London to visit my sister who was in there for school. And my mom got in touch with somebody at the museum and was like, "My kid is stupidly fucking obsessed with cephalopods, and we heard you had the squid is going to be on view." And they're like, "No, but we can show it to you." And so they gave us this really cool behind the scenes tour at the Natural History Museum in London, and it was dope. And I saw this giant squid. It was huge. I loved it. And then they showed us a bunch of preserved animals that Darwin brought back with him on the Beagle. And so there's like a bunch of preserved specimens from 1830 next to this massive fucking giant squid. It was so cool.
That sounds awesome. Why don't you brag about it some more?
Don't say that because he will.
Anyway, if you're listening to this, thanks, Mom, for organizing that. That was pretty cool.
That sounds rad. That sounds super fun.
So, for this episode of Get Dumped On, an Info Dump podcast, I've been your host. I have been Zach. Thank you for listening.
Hey, Ash,
Ash
Stepping
does
on
it.
Ash's toes, man.
Oh my God!
Oh, go
I
ahead,
your
go
toes,
ahead.
Ash.
Go
I'm so
ahead.
sorry,
Yeah,
Ash.
they're fine. They're fine. I was sitting down,
Well,
so take
I
it,
just
Zach.
had to, signal to Ash that the episode was over and they can start doing the outro.
If you like this episode and you would like to listen to more, please listen to more episodes because that would be cool.
Makes sense to me.
Tell your friends.
Tell your
Tell your
friends. Find us on the socials. We're Get Dumped On Podcast basically everywhere. GetDumpedOnPodcast@gmail.com if you want to email us. Has anyone checked that email recently? I surely haven't, but
I have
maybe
not.
there's something in there. Who
I
knows?
check it. I check it every day. No emails.
I do check it. No emails.
Still no emails. Just waiting on that first email. One day we're going to get it. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. Everybody say goodbye to these folks.
Goodbye to these folks.
Goodbye, folks.
Goodbye, folks.
Goodbye, folks. We hope you liked our episode about squids. I really liked it. Okay, bye.
Ash and Zach are super smart. They went to college and learned a bunch of stuff. And Bo and Andrew didn't go to college because that's just the way life goes sometimes. What happens when you put them together and you try to make them learn? Grab your friends, let's listen together on Get Dumped On an Info Dump Podcast.
Bye.
Bye,
Squidding
Goodbye.
around, squidding around.
We're a squad too.
Which what?
I'm doing my horn honk Ricky noise. Meet.